Let's talk first about the yen-dollar trade, what that's going to mean for equities this year.
Sure. I think what we've had recently is, ever since the Bank of Japan tethered the 10-year bond at zero back in October of 2016, basically the Japanese yen's been moving with U.S. Treasury yields. And U.S. Treasury yields have been going up recently. But the problem is the yen has not been weakening along with that move. And the reason is that a lot of people are starting to get the idea that the Bank of Japan is going to reduce its money printing. And if you've spoken to the Bank of Japan, of course, that's absolutely not the way that they're thinking. The governor of the Bank of Japan has been telling anyone who will listen, no, he's nowhere close to easing up on QE. But right at the moment, a lot of foreign investors absolutely won't listen. But the funny thing as far as the market is concerned is, ever since the global financial crisis, whenever the stock market went up, the yen weakened. Therefore, foreign investors, particularly those in the US, would say, well, I can ignore that market. What I gain on the equity market, I lose on the yen. And recently, the yen has held absolutely steady while the market has been shooting up. It was up 20% last year. And it's one of the better markets so far this year. It's really going very strongly. And so it's a pain trade for foreign investors. They're short and caught. They've sold out their holdings to the Japanese market, and it's absolutely on fire at the moment.
And Nicholas, do you think markets are at all being too complacent over the outlook for BOJ tightening? Because for most of last year, everyone said, oh, don't worry about 2018. They can't go anywhere because of the inflation outlook. But all of a sudden, there seems to be more chatter on the front that perhaps the BOJ could surprise.
No, I think the BOJ has been, what I think Kuroda was trying to do is to say to people, because there'd been talk for one person on the policy board who'd been saying, well, the BOJ is not doing enough. And there's other talk in that kind of way. And one possible person, Itsuro Honda, who has been discussed as a possible governor, had been saying the same thing. So I think Kuroda's just trying to say to people, for goodness sake, if we do even more than we're doing at the moment, it'll start to hurt the financial system. That is what I think he's trying to say. He's not trying to say, yeah, I'm terribly sorry about the $3.4 trillion we just printed, but I've changed my mind. It doesn't work after all. That's absolutely not what he wants as a message.
And Nicholas, what do you think the impact of the promise to hike the VAT will have, not just on when we talk about really what's going on with the currency there, but on the retailers as well?
Goodness, yes. Over the last 30 years that I've been in Japan, every time that they hike the VAT, consumption in Japan absolutely tanks. The market's surprisingly sensitive to this. And so I think if you put it all together, a consumption tax hike wouldn't be good for the economy. Abe, I just don't believe that he really wants to do it. But if I'm wrong and he actually does decide to go ahead with VAT, the last thing that he'll want to be doing is also reducing monetary accommodation at the same time, tightening from the Bank of Japan. So if he's going ahead with VAT, then I'd suggest that the Bank of Japan would want to leave the economy running rather hot.